Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael in for Fran Stoddard. Economic development will take center stage at the University of Vermont's upcoming first ever RISE Summit. It's a summit that will focus on the opportunities and challenges of economic development in our state and surrounding region. RISE stands for Research, Innovation, Sustainability, and Entrepreneurship. The RISE Summit set for June 21st and 22nd. And as part of today's program, we'll learn what the university is hoping to accomplish, who's involved, and why it matters to you. To answer those questions and more, we've asked UVM's Vice President for Research, Kurt Dombrowski, to be with us. Vice President Dombrowski is a driving force behind the inaugural RISE Summit. I want to say good afternoon, Kirk. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the first time that I think that most Vermonters are hearing about that, the general public, about the RISE Summit. What are you doing and why?
Sure. The RISE Summit is a two-day summit with guests that are both from Vermont and from outside of the state. We have a couple of great keynote speakers, and the real purpose is to put the university's work in economic development and community development at center stage. You know, well, we've done a lot of work in this area over the last several years, and we haven't done the work of showcasing that. So we're thinking this is probably news to some folks, and we're really excited about what's happening. And then the second piece, sorry about that, is that we are bringing in a number of guests that are sort of helping us take that vision forward. What do we need to do more of? What do we need to do better? What are the challenges? So it's an open forum, and we'll have conversational panels and in-person guests, online attendance, and really showcasing the economic development part of the university.
Because you're pointing out that part of it is education and outreach, making sure that Vermonters know, as an example, what's happened on the research side at the University of Vermont. $250 million, sure. Top 100. These are relatively new developments.
Yes, you know, over the last few years, under the President Garamella's leadership, we've really embraced our traditional land-grant mission, but taken that in the direction of becoming and really thriving as a national research university. And research is, you know, a key economic driver. One of our keynote speakers, Dominic Endicott, wrote a book called Knowledge Towns about the roles that universities can play in sort of lifting whole regions and whole communities. And we've seen it in many places across the country, and we think UVM's new vision and new role in economic development can do that here.
In a way, you anticipated my next question, because I wanted to ask you, how does this summit, how does it connect with UVM's vision of a 21st century land-grant institution?
Absolutely. I think great question, because the land grant is still very central to our mission, and the land grant that has been at UVM for a long time has been ag-focused and extension-focused, and we're not moving away from that at all. But in the 21st century, the land grant has to mean more than that. We have to meet communities where they're emerging right now. Vermont has a booming tech sector. We have a thriving arts community, and we need to take the land grant mission and use that as a way of sort of co-producing the next UVM. It's really taking the land grant mission more to the center of the university, but in that way allowing it to evolve to fit today as well.
And is it fair to say to act and to serve as a problem solver, a problem facilitator? Again, this is what I believe the summit is doing, to bring people together to solve, to discuss and address some of these 21st century issues. Everything from the air we breathe, to the food we eat, 100%. To the water we drink.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think at the heart of the summit, as you say, is sustainability and development, and we really feel like the university is deeply engaged in this already. We are at Vermont businesses. There's a thriving green energy economy in Vermont, and I talk to the CEOs of those companies, and they say, "Where are your graduates? We need more talent." And so, where the university can act as a tech driver, talent magnet, we can engage in those pieces in a way we never could before.
Well, I also want to pick up on that, because the state of Vermont, certainly the university, known and lauded for their green ethos. We see examples of that. With changing climate, we know that there's a lot of work to do. The summit's not going to solve an issue like changing climate, but these are the things that you're empowering the university to address on behalf of Vermonters?
100%. Yep, I think this is really critical. So we have, really sterling relationships with the Department of Energy. We're building a new solar facility, and this is all ways that UVM is a conduit to an entirely new green economy for Vermont. And that actually has to be more than just the obvious green things. We all know that solar and renewable energies are critical, but green healthcare is vital. I mean, healthcare industries are large. They're polluters. They use a lot of resources. Our hospital system, UVM Health Network, is really at the forefront, and Sunny Eapen, who's the new CEO there, is on a panel for us talking about, how do we help healthcare as an academic healthcare center, how do we move forward in that conservation space, the sustainability of healthcare broadly. Critical pieces that are outside of what we normally think of as that green
You're talking
economy.
about those obvious areas. Again, in looking through the agenda, you have Sodexo, a national company
100%.
serving the university. There's all kinds of stuff you're dealing with, food waste and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So, the conference is set up to really take people through a journey, through a process. Each part of it's not meant to be, first we'll talk about this, then we'll talk about that. It's meant to actually take people from where we are, which is what are the challenges and opportunities in this space, and walk them through piece by piece what goes into those solutions. So even lunch is actually part of the program, and will be accompanied by things like how do we create zero waste kinds of opportunities, and that will be hosted by Casella, another one of our university partners, Vermont company, and Sodexo, who's one of our vendors, came in and wanted to talk about food innovation on a large scale. These are important parts of our planetary future that are actually happening on the campus already.
Housing, pollution, healthcare, things require funding and investment. Is time set aside to discuss funding, money issues that relate to solving these problems?
100%. Yeah, we've got we've got Lindsay Curley coming from the state and how the state is invested in these things, but also we have a venture cap group of some of the folks around Vermont and some of the capital in the area. TJ Whalen is the CEO of Fresh Tracks, is one of our hosting a session on what is the investment, so what are the challenges and opportunities that investors face in Vermont right now today, and what's the role of the state and the university in addressing those?
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm speaking with the Vice President for Research at the University of Vermont, Kirk Dombrowski, and our focus is on the upcoming RISE Summit, which will be held and hosted at the university June 21st and 22nd. Vice President Dombrowski, a lot of Vermonters would argue that creativity, and you even mentioned this word earlier, arts play an essential role in a vibrant economy. And again, are the arts part of this summit?
Yep, exactly. We have whole sessions dedicated to that. Teresa Davis from Davis Studios is part of that. Jay Wall from the Flynn Center. These are, some of Vermont's creative leaders in terms of creating institutional spaces where that creativity happens. And we know that creativity is vital to innovation. A creative infrastructure is there, but so is the human dimension. Russ Scully and Rob Lehrer coming up from Hula. When you take the human dimension of economic development seriously and recognize that you can't develop communities without developing the human beings as human beings within them, you're not going to get very far. And that's one of the reasons that we have Kyle Clark from Beta as one of our keynote speakers. Kyle and the Beta company have really tried to define their progress around the thriving, creating a thriving future for Vermont and creating a thriving opportunities for human development at their company. Completely brilliant tactic, and it's working.
I sometimes worry that this buzz phrase, emergent technology, sort of gets glossed aside. This is critically important, the work that Beta, these emergent technologies, these could be incredibly important for Vermont's economic future.
Already are. I think you're right. There are, in our work with the Office of Engagement at the university, we've been reaching out and we've met with a number of companies that are really across Vermont, and these are tech companies that are 100, 150 employees, $200, $300 million in annual business, and there are dozens of them, and they're here already. And so They're part of Vermont's
And the
future.
University of Vermont is actively engaged with them, which
You
I think,
bet.
no offense to previous administrations, I think that that's a big surprise, a big sea change for people like me who've watched the University of Vermont over decades. This is a big change.
Yeah, I think we have a vision for, as you mentioned at the beginning, for a land grant that is expansive enough to include that kind of 21st century engagement. And we need partners. Again, I think co-producing UVM's future land grant mission with our partners around the state is it's just a vital thing. The old model of extension was it happened at the university and we transferred it out. The new model has to be that we're co-producing that future with our partners in a meaningful partnership.
I had mentioned at the beginning that you're the driving force behind the RISE Summit. How does your office, the UVM Office of Research, how does that benefit Vermont and Vermonters?
Sure. So my office does a lot of paperwork. We handle a lot of federal grants, but our real sort of mission-driven side of ourselves is in research development. That is attracting new ideas, the talent to carry out those ideas, and taking the products and moving them forward. And that has real economic benefits in terms of talent for Vermont.
I want to give viewers a final reminder that the UVM RISE Summit is set for June 21st and 22nd. So Kirk, take it away. Where can viewers get more information? What might they need to do to register?
Absolutely. So there is a website, uvm.edu/rise, where you can register. There's no cost to registration. We have 350 folks registered already. We have room for plenty more, but that's the best spot, and the agenda is there. You can see what we'll be doing minute by minute for 2 days on the website.
What's the most compelling reason that somebody should be interested and attend this?
I think the university needs your help, and I think that we have a lot to offer in a lot of the changes that have happened, but also we have a spirit of openness that says we're looking for partners, participants, input into how we together move Vermont into a new space, and we think that's feasible.
Feasible and very well said. Vice President for Research at UVM, Kirk Dombrowski, thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. Great.
And that is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit across the fence.